Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk. My name is Alex Brasky, alongside my co-host, Ajay Cybulski, here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News, presented by Forefathers Organics. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park, and in this case, from East Rutherford, New Jersey, following the Bills' wild 23-20 win over the New York Jets, thanks to our friends at Forefathers in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, another prime time affair for the Bills, and they rebound with a win. They end their two-game losing streak, win by 3 over the New York Jets, a wild game that featured over 20 penalties accepted, a bunch of miscues for both sides, some missed field goals as well. Really a comedy of errors at times in this one, but there was plenty to talk about as well. Bills improved to 4-2, Jets at 2-4. Bills maintain divisional supremacy over New York and gain a 2-game lead in the division. So a big win for the Bills, AJ. If they lost this one, they would have been tied in the standings with the Jets. The Jets would have obviously had the tiebreaker with the head-to-head. So Bills remain in the lead in the AFC East, and not only remain in the lead, but improve upon their lead, and now a 2-game advantage in the division.
Yeah, what a weird game. That's really all I got to say about it. It's just like, I kind of just sat there, watched it, and there just never felt like a moment. Like, it just felt like every time there was a flag, like we talked about, 22 penalties over 200 yards, 204 yards to be exact, the penalties on the night. It was just, a showing from the refs first and foremost. That was the big show of the night. It kind of really not ruined like my thoughts and takeaways of it, but it was just that bad. Like, that was the story of the game.
Kind of overshadowed everything else.
Correct. And again, going back to the Bills-Jets, it's a huge win for the Bills. They rebound from a 2-game skid. They needed this game. They've struggled against New York in MetLife Stadium the past couple of years, 2 straight losses there. So you go into MetLife, you don't have James Cook, you have a Ray Davis showing. That was not weird, but that was also weird to see like a guy they rarely utilized through 5 weeks just come onto the scene and, total nearly 150 total yards, 20 carries on the ground for 97 yards for 4.9 yards a pop. So, I mean, it was just an interesting game, and it was odd. It was, all in all, the defense, I thought, played well. Obviously, Taylor Rapp had a huge game. I'm sure we'll get to all of this.
Right.
But, again, huge win for the Bills, 23-20 over a divisional foe to, like you said, take that commanding lead in the AFC East.
Yeah, just a huge win, and really a victory in terms of the standings, but also a moral victory for the Bills. They really needed this one, that 2-game skid, the way that they were playing. A big turnaround here this evening. We'll get to the offense, but it's going to start with Taron Johnson. His return to the lineup, he makes the big interception to seal the game, the second straight week in which Aaron Rodgers has thrown a game-ending, basically a game-ending interception in the fourth quarter. And Taron Johnson, what a play on the ball, sprints over, dives in to make the play, pulls it away from, I believe, Mike Williams on the play, who looked like he slipped as the ball was approaching. But the nickel cornerback coming over, making the play to help end the game. Josh Allen said it after the game. He's the best nickel cornerback in the league. And while there were some hiccups at times from Johnson, including on the Hail Mary play, which we'll also get to later, just a huge play at the end of this game. And the impact that Taron Johnson has on this defense being felt immediately upon his return.
Yeah, there was one moment. He also made a big tackle for a loss, I believe, in the first half as well to kind of stall the Jets' offensive drive. So he was doing things not only in the passing game, like you saw with the interception, but also the run defending game. And that's what he's so good at. He plays at an all-pro level. They truly did miss Taron. And, again, he was burned by Garrett Wilson in the slot earlier in the game. And Garrett Wilson, I mean, it's tough in that tight of space to guard Garrett Wilson. He's one of the best in the league, and he showed that today. He was all over the field, that nice touchdown, catch in the back of the end zone, a couple nice grabs over the middle of the field on Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas. So he was really winning against any Bills defender, but I think that's more kudos to what Garrett Wilson has become with this team. And I thought this was also the sharpest Aaron Rodgers looked thus far in terms of his ability to maneuver in the pocket and hit his targets accurately. And again, it ended with obviously a game-sealing pick, but if I'm a Jets fan, at least you feel a little bit encouraged with Aaron Rodgers' performance tonight. But overall, I thought Taron played a really good game. He was tackling, physicality, obviously the game-sealing pick like we talked about, and just his leadership and energy that he brings onto the field each week is so important for what this football team wants to do on defense.
Absolutely. He was obviously the shining star in this one defensively. Much more to get to on the defensive side of the ball, but when you make a play like that helps end the game, that certainly, to use a word that we already used, overshadows everything else. Now moving to the offensive side of the ball, Ray Davis, you mentioned him already, a huge game, but Josh Allen, a big bounce back performance in this game. 9 of 30 against the Houston Texans, his worst passing performance of his career, and he bounces back in this game. 19 of 25, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 127.9 rating. Just a great bounce back performance here from Josh Allen, and really efficient was, I think, the word to best describe his performance. Getting the ball out, finding his targets, not putting the ball into harm's way, and the offensive line, I thought, bounced back as well and really helped Allen spark his bounce back performance. Spencer Brown maybe struggled in this one. We'll talk about him later. But Josh Allen, a bounce back effort. And then Ray Davis obviously helping lead the way as well. And Sean McDermott touched on that. It really helps when you get a running day like you did against Ray Davis. That first quarter, over 50 yards rushing. I think the first-year Bill to record over 50 yards in a quarter, if I read that correctly, on the Bills PR Twitter account. But nonetheless, Josh Allen, Ray Davis leading the way. Efficiency was the word for me in this game. And pardon me, AJ, I got to turn the lights back on.
Yeah, I think also it's funny because we talked about before the game, who would we take for fantasy? One of our viewers asked a great question, and we both said Ty Johnson, and I kind of touched on the utilization of Ray Davis and just his pass catching ability. And I think it kind of not the values James Cook and what he does for this offense. He's still a very dynamic player and he's very good, but seeing Ray Davis out there today and his pass catching ability and his running ability, his physicality, he finished every time he got the ball, running over defenders. It was just impressive for him. And that's kind of what they brought him on to do. And like I said, we haven't really seen much of him through 5 weeks, and it's been a quiet start. Ty Johnson getting a lot of the looks, especially in those passing down situations. But he's out there in the 2-minute drill with this Bills offense getting the ball, and Sean McDermott trusting, Joe Brady trusting him that he's going to hang on to it, not fumble that ball away and give it back to the Jets to seal this game. And obviously Josh Allen took it into his own hands on that 3rd and 4 to seal the game officially. But again, I think it was cool to see Ray Davis not only get the ball to start the game and them show confidence. He had 48 yards on 6 touches on that opening drive for the Bills, that touchdown drive to put them up ahead 7-3. So I thought he was just really impressive tonight. And again, going back to them ending the game with him as well with the ball in his hands, it's just an overall just really performance booster and confidence booster for him moving forward. And speaking of Josh Allen, like you mentioned, 19 to 25, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, adding a rushing touchdown on the ground. I thought he was efficient today. Missed a couple throws. I thought he wants that one back probably to Curtis Samuel on that 2nd and goal. In the second half, missed them just off his fingertips, and also the throw to Dalton Kincaid on the 3rd and 6 as well, overshot him. But overall, a very good performance. Missed on a couple throws. I thought Keon Coleman had a couple of nice plays also on the final drive there for the Bills to kind of seal it. So overall, a bounce back performance from what Josh Allen needed. Still a player that has not thrown an interception this year, and since 1933. There's been 4 quarterbacks that have thrown 10-plus touchdowns and 0 interceptions through 6 weeks. So an elite company for a guy that turns the ball over as much as Josh Allen has had, throughout his career before the 2024 season.
Yeah, that's been the biggest change, I think, for Allen this year, just his ability to protect the football, not put it in harm's way. He's had a few passes this year that could have been picked off, but remaining clean in that department through this game. I thought the wide receivers gave you some signs of positivity here. Still not enough at the wide receiver position or the pass catcher group in general. I think the Bills are going to have to go out and trade for one here in the coming weeks. It's just not enough. But Mac Hollins catches a touchdown. Curtis Samuel finally makes an appearance with a 38-yard reception. And you mentioned Keon Coleman, a really slow start to this game. Only had 1 reception for 5 yards, I think, going into the 4th quarter. But you mentioned those couple plays late to help the Bills push the ball down the field. So perhaps some signs of positive trend for the Bills pass catching crew, but still I think they need to bring in an influx of talent here. It doesn't seem like it's going to be Devontae Adams. Doesn't seem like Mark Davis wants to pay any of that tab. He wants that second-round pick and doesn't want to pay any of Adam's salary. And Adam Schefter said so far no teams are biting on that. So perhaps the Bills have to look elsewhere than Davante Adams. But as time goes on, I think it's becoming more and more clear. While you're starting to see flashes from these guys in certain spurts, I don't think it's enough overall. Josh Allen needs some help on the outside.
Yeah, and I would love to see how much Khalil Shakir played in this game. I don't have the official snap counts.
I believe about 22 snaps. They were certainly limiting his snaps early in the game. He was off the field on a third down, I believe. So he didn't get his usual snap share here and wasn't as effective as you see Shakir be when he's fully healthy.
Right. So if you add him back into the picture more for this offense, I think there's some potential for this wide receiver room to still figure it out. But yeah, there's some intriguing names. Cortland Sutton's a name that comes to mind, a cheaper option that, who knows really where the Broncos are going. He's been a name that's been talked about with trade discussions for a couple of years now. I feel like they're always talking about Judy, obviously left to the Browns, but so there's a name to mention. But overall, just thinking about this game, yeah, Ray Davis led the team in receiving, and then Dalton Kincaid followed that with 6 catches for 51 yards. And like John Roberts says here, Dawson Knox makes a great play going back to the football and goes to, for a touchdown. So good for Dawson Knox. I think I read a stat before the game. I'm sorry, I forget who it is, but someone in the Bills media, Mark Gunn from the Buffalo News tweeted out, the Bills are 19-1 when Dawson Knox scores a touchdown, and this is before the game. So now the Bills are 20-1 in games that Dawson Knox scores a touchdown. So quite interesting that a player, like Dawson Knox, who has struggled, especially these past couple of years, when he scores, it seems to go well for the Bills offense. So yeah, overall, I think they still need more from this pass catching group. But like you said, the explosive play from Curtis Samuel, a little promise from Keon Coleman towards the end, and I think as Khalil Shakir gets healthy here, you'll obviously see him more involved as well.
How about the offensive line? I thought a bounce back performance from them as well. Josh Allen sacked. This light keeps going off on me, AJ. This is what happens when you're in unfamiliar territory. Josh Allen sacked twice, but I thought he wasn't running for his life as often as he was the past couple of weeks. And really where I thought the offensive line dominated was in the running game. Early on, creating just gaping holes for Ray Davis, giving him so much room to run. And like you said, allowing him to use that physicality one-on-one against players at the second level. And it turned into some big yardage time and again. So really encouraged by this offensive line today. There were a few too many penalties. Spencer Brown, particularly the unnecessary roughness call, which could be debated. It seemed like a pretty good block, but maybe a little too much at the end. And when you kind of have the track record that Spencer Brown has with committing penalties and in some circumstances just boneheaded penalties, it's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But maybe upon further review, a bad call of one of many from the officials here tonight.
Yeah, he just seems to be like looking for anything or anyone to kind of make contact with or talk trash to. But that's Spencer Brown. He's, from Northern Iowa. He brought in a huge dude. So he just always brings the physicality. I think there's a lot of debate about it, but maybe back in the day it wasn't a penalty, but I think, the extra spear to the ground after he was on the ground, there's a rule that you can't do that. So, I mean, it's a kind of an obvious call from the official there if it's right in front of him like that. But I guess you could argue it because, again, you could argue he was finishing his block. But
and that's what Mitchell Schwartz said. He said that you're not allowed to hit a player when he's already on the ground, but he felt it was a continuation of the block. So I guess that's where the discrepancy is when it comes to that call.
Yeah, that gray area there, it's really a fine line if especially in the moment like that for referees.
Right.
They did not display a good performance, but you got to also give them a break sometimes in terms of that stuff. But yeah, I think this offensive line did respond well, and they opened up holes for Ray Davis, almost averaged 5 yards a carry. Like you mentioned, I don't think Allen was running around for his life that much. One of the sacks was Allen trying to scramble up the middle on 2nd and goal on that final drive, and he was sacked for about maybe like a half-yard loss. So nothing like
that is what it says here, half yard. Yep.
Yeah, so not like a detrimental play by any means, like not a sack that knocked them out of field goal range. So there were situationally the Bills offensive line was really good tonight and solid and blocked well and allowed Josh to play amongst himself. Now Josh also had that all-worldly escape when he kind of just like ducked under the Jets defender and found Knox for that touchdown in the first half, which is a pretty cool move. And my dad thought he had him wrapped up, and that made my dad stand up and get excited. He's like, how did he get out of there? So he wanted to see the replay. But yeah, there was Josh Allen moments. There was offensive line I thought played well, and overall just better execution offensively despite some penalties, some false start penalties on Spencer Brown, the Dawkins penalty on the third quarter that can't happen. But those are all fixable things that they can work on against the Titans in week 7.
How about that 42-yard completion to Ray Davis? I think I wrote it up as a 52-yard completion. I'm going to have to change that. But Josh Allen traveling 16.26 miles per hour. That's the fastest speed by a quarterback on a deep completion over the last 2 seasons. He just continues to do things that other quarterbacks in this league do not have the capability to do. It's so exciting watching Josh Allen play. And like I said, just a big bounce back performance from him. And last thing on the offense, you mentioned Dawkins' penalty at the end of the third quarter. He talked about the little skirmish that occurred during the TV timeout in between quarters. He's made it clear there's no love lost for the Jets when it comes to Dawkins. He's made that clear throughout the offseason. I asked him about it during his media availability this week, just said he kind of likes to get the tension up when he plays the New York Jets, and that certainly was the case in between quarters. He said Josh Allen played a big role in helping him kind of regain his composure after that moment. Said Allen came over to him, just told him to calm down, be in the moment, be here. And Dawkins said he responded well. And he said that's what a leader does. He checks his soldiers when he needs to. And it's good to see Josh Allen. It was really talked about a lot during the offseason in terms of his uptick in leadership and maybe a change in leadership style. And he certainly displayed that tonight during that tough moment there in between the third and the fourth quarter. And did you see Dawkins' outfit after the game? It was something of legend.
And that's exactly my point that I was going to get to when I saw the video. I think like he probably had like, okay, so you go back to the offseason after last year and he like, basically spewed on the Jets on a podcast. I forget who it was, but just absolutely tearing them apart. Like, some people play for the love of the game, but other players, I'm not saying word for word, but other players, just do it because they, whatever, something along those lines. And, he just kind of spewed a lot of not BS, but like not great remarks about the Jets as a whole.
So I think he said he hates everyone but Quinnen Williams.
And then he goes into this game and like I feel like he like went into this one like, dude, I'm gonna be a badass and I'm going to basically like get this outfit ready. I'm gonna talk to them. Like it all almost seemed like he planned this out. Like, dude, I'm gonna just be ridiculous, talk the trash and go off. And I was getting to the outfit like being a whole part of it. Like he had the glasses on, kind of looked like all dappered up and all fancy.
He looked like a wrestler, like a WWE wrestler.
Yeah. So it almost seemed like, man, like he had this game circled and he doesn't like going against these guys. And it was apparent he got that penalty, but yeah, that good to see Josh's leadership show up there for a franchise left tackle who's done a lot of good things. It's good to, as good as he is, you got to also reel it in sometimes. And that's what it seems like Josh Allen did for Dawkins tonight.
Before we get too deep into this podcast, let's thank our sponsor once again, Forefathers Organics in Dansville. At Forefathers Organics, their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. All right, AJ, not only did Taron Johnson return in this game, Taylor Rapp returns and has a huge game. 3 critical plays that really helped the Bills win this game. First, in that third quarter, with the Jets driving for what could have been the go-ahead touchdown, Rapp makes the tackle on the long run down the left sideline, saving the touchdown. And then later in that drive, he and Damar Hamlin converge on the intended target in the back of the end zone, break up the pass on third down, and force the field goal from Greg Zuerlein, his first of 2 doinks on the day. And that kept the game tied rather than give the Jets a 23-20 lead. So Taylor Rapp, with his 2 plays on that drive, potentially saved 7 points and truly saved 3 with that pass breakup in the end zone. And then later on the final drive for the Jets, he has that big pass breakup in the middle of the field coming over. I think he hit his head on the ground a little bit, slow to get up, but just plays with reckless abandon. And sometimes it's come back to hurt the Bills in terms of him throwing his body around. And you saw him maybe get involved on Taron Johnson's injury early in the season. But boy, this guy just lays his body on the line, and it really paid off for the Bills tonight. 3 huge plays to help turn this game.
Yeah, what a performance from Taylor Rapp. His best in a Bills uniform by far in terms of those splash plays and big moments. And they re-signed him, and he's in the system. And coming off that concussion injury, you see his impact on that back end for what they want to do back there. And Yeah, that play on Ruckert. I mean, all three plays by Taylor Rapp, just clean plays. Obviously, the tackle on the running back was obviously clean. It wasn't really a bang play, but those two plays. I mean, it's hard nowadays in the NFL to make those bang plays and do it legally. And not try and hit that helmet. So for him to do that, avoid a penalty, cause the pass breakups on two huge plays. Because that would have been, a first down for the Jets or near the first down marker on that final drive, and then obviously the touchdown to Garrett Wilson it would have been. So two big plays from a big player in a big spot, and a guy that we haven't seen much from through the first few weeks, but he's been pretty solid, and you haven't seen bad things come from him. So to see some good plays being put together here against a divisional rival, hopefully he can build off that and continue to make plays for this defense.
Anything else positive you want to touch on here before we get to some of the negative from the Bills here this evening? I think we really did a good job spreading through it. Ajay Epineza had a sack, wiped out. Dwan Smoot actually got the first snaps as the edge rusher opposite Greg Rousseau. So maybe a changing of the guard here with Smoot coming in and leading the way in place of Ajay Epineza. But that's obviously something to monitor. We'll have to check the snap counts as well. It was really a rotation with those two particularly throughout the game, but I thought Smoot got more opportunity, especially early. Daquan Jones had a sack in this game. I think he's struggled to regain his early season form from a season ago, but I think he had a little bit better of a performance. The Bills' defensive line, though, really bullied in that first half. They were running all over them. But that's really it for me, AJ. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, that was all. I was just going to touch on Epinesa. I thought he played well. That sack wiped out. Aaron Rodgers said after the game that all the calls were bad, and I put it on my Twitter. I'm going to paraphrase it, but basically said, the roughing the passer penalty was a penalty, or was not a penalty on me, and also the roughing the passer, the penalty on Josh Allen later in the game was also not roughing the passer. So the refs just and the PIs on Christian Benford I thought were questionable. And there was just a lot of questionable calls in terms of the pass interference penalties and the roughing the passers. But yeah, all in all, I thought the defensive line played okay. Like you mentioned, Ajay Epinesa the 2 sacks, 1 wiped out because of the roughing the passer penalty, and Daquan Jones made a nice play. And hey, but I think that was a screen play, like a little. So I mean, some success against the screen pass for this Bills defense, which you haven't seen a lot from so far up to this point.
I didn't even notice that Epinesa finished with a couple of sacks. I thought he had the 1 wiped out, and then I thought he had another one, but 2 sacks for Ajay Epinesa in this game. I'll have to go back and rewatch where those came. Do you remember or when those occurred? Were those on the final drive?
Epinesa, it says. I mean, I'm using ESPN, but it says 2 sacks. I don't know if they count.
No. I see it as well on
NFL
CSIS. Okay. I just can't remember.
I think they counted that roughing the passer penalty as a sack. I swear I know it shouldn't be, and that's all I can think of. Because I said the same thing to myself when I was putting my article together. I'm like, I'm not sure this is accurate, but I'm like, I checked. I also checked CBS Sports, and so I don't know what.
I'm looking quick. I can't really see any, but we'll go back on the rewatch and we'll try to track that down. But I think that's pretty much it for the positives to take away from this one. How about some of the negatives, AJ? We'll start with the Hail Mary at the end of the first half. Really just a disaster of epic proportion. You have a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers that is known for throwing Hail Marys. You only rush 2 players on the play. You drop back 9 in coverage, which is questionable in its own right. And then the players that you drop back play the ball completely incorrectly. This was one of the bad plays from Rapp, one of the few bad plays from Rapp in this game. On the Hail Mary, you had Rapp behind Lazard, right? It was Lazard who came down with it?
Yes.
You had Rapp behind Lazard, and tell me if you saw this the same way. You had Taron Johnson in front. You had Johnson, what seemed to be basketball-style boxing out the receiver, and Taylor Rapp going up for the interception, it appeared to me, when you have to do whatever you can in that situation to get the ball down. Now, I think where Taron Johnson was and his diminutive stature, I think it's going to be tough for him to elevate and knock that ball down where he is. But I'm not sure what he was doing with the basketball style box out. And I'm not sure if he was in the best position to begin with there. But Taylor Rapp and a few other players behind the play in good position. And it seemed like all 3 of them went up for the interception rather than batting the ball down. But a lot of wrong on this play. I think it starts with only rushing 2 and giving Rodgers all the time in the world to dial up the perfect rainbow throw to the end zone, and then obviously on the back end, not knocking the ball down and whatever the heck Taron Johnson was trying to do.
Yeah, and it's another like perfect example. I get multiple.
They needed you back there. Someone with great size and leaping ability. They needed you back there.
Yeah, I got multiple texts from people after that. Sean McDermott, but I'm like, all right, like in my response to them was like, what's the better play call? And I get it, they rush too. I understand that, but like that gives you more players to make a play on the ball on the back end and avoids a sideline throw. So I don't understand where like all this Sean McDermott, like I saw a couple of people tweet it. It's like, and whatever. But I just think it's crazy to call out Sean McDermott there. That was player execution. That is the right play call there. Maybe you could do it a different way. Maybe you do want to rush 4, right? But that leaves you with only 7 back there. So there's more players out there. To blame Sean McDermott for that is just, quite ridiculous in my opinion. And, but again, it's people. But I do get it at the same time because it is people just getting tired of, Sean McDermott in the field.
Right.
So it's also, I understand that part of it. But it was player execution there. You knocked the ball down every single time. The players were in position to do it. You do not let Allen Lazard moss you in the end zone. And, maybe the Bills are the worst team in NFL history in defending a Hail Mary because it seems like it's happened, one too many times. One time is a lot, but I think it's happened a few times to this Bills defense over the course of the past couple of years. So they need to figure that out. The defense needs to knock that ball down every single time. And that's ultimately not on Sean McDermott. That's on the players on the field, and they're supposed to make that play every single time.
But you hinted at it, I think, because I'm with you. I mentioned this the last time. I'm one of the most pro Sean McDermott people in the media sphere. I've made my feelings well known. I think the Bills have a good head coach, but with the Bills' struggles, and Andy Young said this to me at halftime, with the Bills' struggles at end of half and end of game cropping up time and time again, I think that's what leads you to question Sean McDermott in these moments. It's not the individual play, because like you said, I think the players were in position. They just didn't make the play. Maybe you can argue he should have put a tall wide receiver back there. Maybe you can argue we should have rushed a few more players, but players are put in position to make a play. They need to make the play. But with that said, this kind of thing happens time and again and way too often to Sean McDermott coach teams. And as it continues to happen, I think the coaching does start to be called into question, and reasonably so. When it becomes a trend, I think when the players are changing here year by year. Over Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane's tenure, there's been some turnover on the roster. One thing that's not changing is obviously Sean McDermott, and I guess that's where my point is. As these things continue to happen under his leadership, although it's tough to blame the coach when the players aren't executing, the repetitiveness of moments like this, I think, is beginning to, and not beginning, it's worn on Bills fans over the years and really caused some displeasure with the head coach.
Right. And it's just the Billsy way, man. And like, I get it. And like, I'm with you. I think that does wear on fans, and that is why they feel the way they do. And all these late game blunders and on the halftime. And like, you're supposed to have a 20-10 lead. You're going to have the opportunity to go up 17 at the start of the second half. Everything's going your way. You're clicking on all cylinders offensively. You put up 20 in the first half, and then you allow a detrimental Hail Mary to end the first half when it felt like you had the game in control, and that flips the whole game on its head, and that almost costs you to lose the game, and a big reason of it. So I get it. I understand it. But again, it's ultimately, the players have to knock that down there. And it's such a low percentage play anyway. Like, okay, well, if they rush 4 and they still complete it, then their fans will be complaining that there was 7 in the coverage, and they didn't have enough people in the end zone. So it's a double-edged sword, regardless of the outcome. If Aaron Rodgers completes the pass, no matter what happens, no matter what the play call is, no matter what personnel is out there, no matter if he put Matt Collins, Duncan, the tallest players on the field, that wouldn't have mattered. So ultimately, I understand why fans get upset and why it's becoming a trend, and it has become a trend, and that's a thing. But I don't want to say bad luck, but I think it's a combination of coaching and player execution and just bad luck, quite frankly.
And obviously the biggest negative takeaway in this game, Tyler Bass misses an extra point, had it blocked, and then misses a 32-yard attempt? Or was it, 43, I think. I think Zerline's was 32. But regardless, Tyler Bass remains inconsistent. in this game. The blocked extra point, yes, it was blocked, but I think it may have missed by a country mile had it not been blocked. He kind of kicked it to the left directly into the hand of, I think it was Quinnen Williams, who was credited with the block. That thing was going awry right off the hold. I don't think it had a chance in hell, even if it wasn't blocked. And then the miss, I didn't have a good angle on this. It was on the near side, so I didn't see, but it wide right on that one.
Yep.
And maybe not as wildly missed as we've seen from Bass this year, but Sean McDermott was very short in his response when asked about Bass after the game. Just said Tyler knows he needs to make those kicks, and I think time is running out on Bass. I think the Bills worked out those veteran kickers a few weeks ago. It's time to circle back on that. You can't afford to lose a game like this based on your kicker, and that's what it would have come down to. You had the Jets driving with a chance to tie it with a field goal. If Tyler Bass makes the field goal or the extra point, it would force him to score a touchdown in that situation. So I don't know how much longer you can go into the season just holding your breath when Tyler Bass is on the field. You have to have some semblance of confidence. Now, the other side of this is whoever you're bringing in, is he any better than Tyler Bass? Obviously, you saw another kicker on an NFL roster. Greg Zuerlein missed 2 kicks tonight. So it's a tough situation for the Bills. I'm not sure if there's any great answer to this, but as time goes on, Tyler Bass's time in Buffalo, I think, is wearing thin.
Yeah, and that might be Tyler Bass's saving grace. I think they still probably do try and bring in someone on the practice squad, just maybe for some comfortability in case, things do go awry and he continues to struggle this bad. But Greg Zuerlein missed a 32-yarder. I mean, he's one of the better kickers in this league, and they call him Greg the Leg. That's his nickname. So Legatron. So he struggled tonight too, and that wind was whipping around. But still, at the end of the day,
not that bad.
Right. There's no excuses. It's a field goal that you have to make at the NFL level. The struggles continue. The confidence probably continues to dwindle a little bit here, but he still rebounded a game-winning field goal at the end of the game, albeit a under 25-yard, 22-yarder, I believe, to win the game. So it's still some sort of, he made the kick and he executed at the end of the game in the biggest moment. He still finished with a game-winning field goal. But there's definitely some major questions, and fans have every right to question Bass moving forward. And I think it's, you might be right. I think time might be ticking on that clock in terms of what is his future with this team if he continues to miss badly like this game in, game out.
Anything else, AJ? Let's thank our sponsor, actually, before I ask you that. Forefathers Organics at Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
I'll tell you what, AJ, if the Jets would have won this game, we would have never heard the end of that Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary. I'm watching SportsCenter right now here in one of the media rooms. I'm not even sure what they use this for, but they're still going over Aaron Rodgers' Hail Marys throughout his career, and the Jets lost the game. So imagine if they would have won this game. It would have led first take. It would have led get up, and we would have not heard the end of this until Week 7 started.
Yeah, it was Rodgers does it best. But, yeah, I liked what Rodgers said after the game, and going back to the refs, but I just liked how he always says it how it is, and you can't discredit Aaron Rodgers for that. That's who he is. That's how he is. He'll say whatever the heck he wants whenever he wants, and, it's tough because they, like I told you, and Ryan Clark had a great segment pregame about this. Despite and this is what I made a point I made in the podcast earlier this week. Despite if Aaron Rodgers knowingly wanted Robert Saleh out or unwillingly, or did not know, his presence was the reason that he left, or that Robert Saleh is not in the shoes he's in now. And I thought Todd Downing called a good game tonight for the Jets. I thought it was the best the Jets offense looked. I thought Albridge did okay as a game manager and as a defensive head coach, but I think the Bills offense did pretty well against this Jets defense, who was playing really good football. And I think Aaron Rodgers, he's got exactly this is his team. If he wanted Nathaniel Hackett, he wanted all these players, he wanted Allen Lazard. So it's interesting that you give this a player this much power, and now they're out to a 2-4 start through 6 weeks after it was the preseason Super Bowl team for many in the national media.
Maybe the last thing to touch on, Sean McDermott highlighted it in his press conference. Jets 1 for 4 in the red zone. I see it come up here on ESPN. The Bills 3 for 4. That was the difference in the game. Bills red zone offense and Bills red zone defense really shining through in this one. But a big win for the Bills, 4-2. Jets fall to 2-4. This is now the Bills' division to lose, and I think it's going to take. It would take a disastrous second half plus finish to this season for the Bills to lose their standing as divisional leader. I just think the AFC East stinks. The Bills have played a few of the tough games on their schedule. I think now it's about figuring some of these things out to put yourself in good position. And it's tough to say this early in the season, but to put yourself in good position heading into the postseason, because like I said, I just do not see them losing this lead in the AFC East now that they've won this game. You need to add firepower around Josh Allen at the wide receiver position moving forward to help this team get where it needs to go.
Yeah, and the Bills, I mean, their next 4 games, they should easily go 3-1. I guess easily is a tough word to use in the NFL, but they should be a 3-1 ball club over the next 4. Titans, Seahawks, Dolphins. Sorry, Titans, Seahawks, Colts, Dolphins. Oh, that's a 3-1 stretch.
That's a 4-0 stretch. It should be for the Bills, but it's the NFL.
They'll drop. Right. They could drop one of those games easily. Travel Seattle's a tough game on the road, regardless of how they've been playing. So at 3, you should be going into that Kansas City game at 7-3, and that gives them time. I don't think they're at the level. In our title here, it says, "Are the Bills back?" I mean, the Bills are right where they're supposed to be. I think 4-2 through 6 weeks is a good spot, a good start for them. And I don't think they're the cream of the crop of the AFC. I would still give the Ravens and the Chiefs ahead, and maybe even the Texans at this point is the teams that are better than the Bills in the AFC. But they don't need to be right now. That's why they have time. They've had a lot of turnover. They have an easy stretch coming up to prepare for that gauntlet later in the year. So I think this gives the Bills a lot of opportunity to kind of find their identity, get right, and head into that final stretch of the season with some high hopes and hopefully some Super Bowl aspirations there as well.
As Mexico Marty says, Bass could definitely use a cleanse of mind, body, and soul. I think really we could all use that right now after that game. I think we just need to cleanse that entire game from our memory bank. But you mentioned the title. Are the Bills back on track? Do you feel they might not be back to being what we thought was the best team in the AFC, but do you feel this game got them back on track? I feel it did. Josh Allen back to being efficient. They got the running game going again. And the defense making big plays as it has all season long. I think this game gets them back on track. No, it doesn't return them to the level they were after those first 3 games. I think there was still way too much negative in this game, but certainly a step back in the right direction for the Bills in this one.
Yeah, it's a step forward to where they want to be. I don't think it's the end result. Obviously, there's a lot to learn here. They got to find their identity. But, they, like you mentioned, Josh Allen found himself 3 total touchdowns, over 240 total yards in the game. 0 interceptions, no turnovers, a near fumble, almost a disaster. But thankfully, Cyrus Torrance jumped on it. But yeah, this Bills team is, again, a favorable stretch coming up. You have a lot of talent on this roster still, and it's, you have a defense that's playing bend don't break football and an offense that's figuring it out along the way with all these new pieces.
All right, that's going to do it for us on the podcast right here, right now, live Buffalo Football Talk. Thank you for joining us from MetLife Stadium. Alex Brasky for Ajay Cybulski. We'll be back on Wednesday or Thursday with another show leading into the Tennessee Titans game. Ajay, you're going to be in the press box for that one. Excited?
Suits ready. I'm going to bring my baby blue suit. We're going to be looking good for my
baby blue.
Sunday. Baby blue, navy blue, maybe. Sorry, maybe not baby blue, navy blue.
I was going to say baby blue suit.
Yeah, no, navy blue. My fault. Navy blue suit. That'll be rocking. So I'm excited.
All righty. So next time you'll see us after a game, it'll be me and AJ together at Highmark Stadium. But next time you'll see us, we'll bring you some talk leading into Tennessee, Buffalo in Week 7. But once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.